Welcome to NTD China News. I'm Karen Chang. Making headlines this Monday, April 1st. Xi Jinping finishes his foreign visit with multi-million-dollar deals in the Democratic Republic of Congo. 2 people are dead after catching a rare strain of the bird flu, and what the United Nations has to say about Hong Kong's right to vote. Chinese Communist Party chief Xi Jinping has wrapped up his first overseas tour. He spent last week in Africa and finished his visit with an injection of money into a host of trade deals with the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Xi Jinping winds down his first official trip to Africa as China's new leader with the final stop in the Democratic Republic of Congo. On Friday, Xi signed a series of 11 deals totaling several $million. The negotiations covered sectors such as finance, infrastructure, energy, and communications. The Congo is a major oil producer, and China is already the Congo's largest trading partner. According to state-run Xinhua News, trade between China and the Congo has swelled from $290 million in 2002 to $5 billion in 2012. The latest deals add to several other multi-billion-dollar agreements already underway. The most high-profile of these will be the construction of a 300-mile-long highway between the capital of Brazzaville and the Congo's second-largest city, Pointe-Noire.
China's health authorities have confirmed that 2 people in Shanghai have been killed by a rare strain of the bird flu. The 2 patients died separately on March 4th and 10th, but the cases were not announced until Sunday.
2 people have died in China from a lesser-known strain of bird flu, Chinese health officials reported on Sunday. The 2 men, aged 87 and 27, were both from Shanghai. They fell sick in late February from the H7N9 virus and died in early March, but their deaths were not announced until Sunday after more than 2 weeks. This, for some residents, was cause for worry.
I felt shocked when I heard the news about bird flu because we haven't heard anything about this for a long time. I was worried when hearing news that 2 men have already died as a result of bird flu.
China's National Health and Family Planning Commission reports that a 3rd woman from eastern Anhui province has also been infected by the H7N9 virus. She's in a critical condition. The 3 patients all showed initial symptoms of fever and cough, which developed into severe pneumonia, then breathing difficulties. There are conflicting reports about whether the 2 Shanghai cases had come into contact with poultry. According to this official report from the Chinese Disease Prevention and Control Department, one of the victims was a poultry vendor. But in this later CCTV report, a Shanghai official claimed neither victims had come into contact with poultry. All 3 cases have been reported to the World Health Organization. The H7N9 bird flu virus is not known to have infected human beings before. The World Health Organization says there are also no signs it will transmit from human to human. There are currently no vaccines against the H7N9 bird flu virus.
Hong Kong enjoys many freedoms that are not found in China's mainland as a special administrative region. But last month, a Chinese official said that Beijing would appoint Hong Kong's next leader in 2017, despite promising earlier that Hong Kong's people could elect their own chief executive. This and other issues were brought up in a hearing for the United Nations Human Rights Committee last month. What do they have to say? Let's find out.
Last Thursday, the United Nations Human Rights Committee gave its observations on the situation in Hong Kong. The committee praised the special administrative region for gains in some areas, such as children's rights and the rights of the disabled, but in other areas it expressed some concern. Universal suffrage, freedom of press, and interpretation of basic law were some of the areas of concern. Last month, China's central government said it would not allow universal suffrage in Hong Kong for its chief executive elections in 2017. When asked about the decision during a hearing last month, a Hong Kong legislator reported Chinese officials said they would start consulting the Hong Kong people at the right time. In its recommendations, the Human Rights Committee suggested Hong Kong set up an international human rights institution. However, the Hong Kong government declined to implement it.
We hope China's central government sees this series of events and respects the suggestions by the United Nations, rather than just saying that Hong Kong will be following the Communist Party's basic laws and ignore everything else. It won't be good to disregard the suggestions of the UN.
Except for the requirements under the International Covenant on Human Rights and Political Rights, the committee's suggestions are not legally binding. The next review for the ICCPR will begin in 2018. after the 2017 election, free or not, has finished.
Rescuers are battling tough conditions as they continue to search for survivors from a massive landslide in Tibet that happened last Friday in what is a very unstable area.
At least 36 bodies have been uncovered after a landslide in China's Tibet Autonomous Region, state-run Xinhua news agency reported on Monday. 83 miners were buried alive early last Friday. The chance of finding survivors is becoming slimmer with each passing hour. The massive landslide occurred at a gold mine near Tibet's capital, Lhasa. The victims were miners working for a subsidiary of Chinese state-owned China National Gold Group Corporation. The high altitude of the landslide location and snowy conditions made the rescue effort difficult. Cracks along nearby mountains are being monitored by geologists as there are fears of more disasters happening.
This is an area with a high probability of landslides. That's why we've sent people to monitor the conditions of the surrounding mountains 24 hours a day to detect further accidents.
Soon after the landslide occurred at the gold mine, Chinese state-run media ruled it was due to natural causes.
Earlier today, China's Defense Ministry announced that 2 pilots were killed during a training exercise on Sunday. There were no details about the crash except that it happened on a beach in eastern Shandong province. The pilots were flying 2 Su-27s. It's an older model Russian fighter jet bought in the 1990s. Last week, China announced the purchase of 24 newer Su-35s from Russia. And coming up after the break, China's home prices continue to climb as several cities announce home buying restrictions. New findings on how pollution is hurting China's next generation, and why police in eastern China are cracking down on Chinese-style street crossing. And welcome back. Data released today show that average home prices around China have risen yet again. March saw the fastest pace of increase since last December, as governments from different cities start to take the order from central authorities to do something to prevent a housing bubble.
In a bid to cool the property market, several cities around China have announced new rules aimed at capping rising home prices. It comes as prices jumped again in March, at the fastest pace in the past 4 months. On March 1st, China's State Council told local governments to implement measures to discourage speculative buying. These include a massive 20% capital gains tax on the sale of a second home, as well as tougher lending requirements. That announcement sparked a sudden increase in property transactions.
We've seen that those who have properties are looking to sell them off quickly. That's one thing. Another is that those who don't have homes are rushing to enter the market.
On Saturday, cities including Beijing, Shanghai, and the Chongqing metropolis all announced they would levy the 20% tax. In Beijing, residents who already own a home will be banned from purchasing any more. Those who have no properties will be limited to buying just one. In Shanghai, banks will be implementing stricter conditions for those buying a second home, like putting up a higher down payment. Those who are not permanent residents in the city, foreigners or divorcees will also face additional conditions. Analyst Gongsheng Li, the chief researcher for a Chinese magazine used by different Chinese ministries as internal reference, says despite years of trying to control the market, Chinese regulators have not been able to stop prices from climbing.
If this trend continues, China's market economy, especially real estate, will become the special product as something that goes completely against regular market forces. This means China's real estate is facing more troubles in the future.
Data provider China Real Estate Index System reported on Monday that average home prices rose 1.03% in March from February. Compared to the same time last year, prices jumped 3.9%.
China's air pollution has been in the headlines recently because of its high visibility, but the consequences of the pollution are not so easy to see. Several studies are showing a strong correlation between the phenomenal levels of pollution in China and birth defects.
Bloomberg published an article last Thursday exploring the correlation between environmental pollution and birth defects. Several studies cited by Bloomberg show that yes, there is a correlation, and Chinese children, both in the womb and out, are being affected. This map was made by NASA from 2001 to 2006. It averages the particulate matter PM of 2.5 micrometers in diameter. PM 2.5, is said to be one of the most deadly forms of air pollution as it can penetrate the lungs and get into the bloodstream. The red on this map shows the highest concentration of PM 2.5 and blue the lowest. Air pollution, and especially PM 2.5, has been making headlines recently as the smog in China's cities has been labeled very severe.
To pursue GDP growth, the government has ignored people's livelihood. Therefore, right now there are so many babies born with defects. It greatly impacts our lives. This is already a crime.
Over a 10-year period starting in the early 2000s, scientists started testing babies in Shanghai province, one of the biggest coal-producing regions in China. The study found that of 80 babies born with congenital tube defects, all showed a higher exposure to chemicals found in coal burn-off. Children are much more susceptible to health problems from pollution than adults are. The heavy metals found in coal production and other environmental pollutants are particularly damaging to a child's development. One woman working at an international adoption agency says that finding healthy children in China is getting harder and harder. She says that a combination of China's one-child policy and poor environmental conditions has left few babies unscathed for adoption.
Time is money. Maybe that's why pedestrians in China don't want to wait for the light to change to cross busy streets. But in Zhejiang province, law enforcement officials are cracking down on what they're calling Chinese-style street crossing.
The rule of law. It's been a concern of China analysts and human rights activists around the world. But there's one type of law that often gets overlooked: traffic laws. According to state-run Xinhua news agency, authorities in eastern Zhejiang province are trying to crack down on 8 types of serious traffic violations. They include things like driving under the influence, illegal parking, and what Xinhua calls Chinese-style street crossing. That refers to when pedestrians find strength in numbers. When there's a big enough group of people, they will cross the street regardless of what the traffic light says. According to Xinhua, this Chinese-style street crossing accounted for most of the 11,000 violations that have been punished since March 1st. To show they are serious about stopping this illegal practice, a large number of police have been assigned to catch offending pedestrians. They are issuing fines of between 5 to 20 yuan. It's roughly equal to $1 to $3. Xinhua says the effort has been more or less successful, but stubborn groups of pedestrians are still crossing at their own risk.
More and more people from around the world are going to China on business trips or to experience its sights or culture. Over the weekend, New York-based Shenyun Performing Arts brought China, enriched with its long history, to audiences in Frankfurt, showing a side that is completely new even to those who have frequently traveled there.
On Easter weekend, the president of the Rotary Club of Frankfurt, Frank Wittchen, saw Shenyun Performing Arts at the Jahrhunderthalle. This is what he had to say about the show.
Wonderful. It was a very colorful and amusing evening. I liked it very much.
As Shenyun showcases 5,000 years of Chinese civilization, he discovered a China he had not known before.
Personally, I go to China relatively often on business, so I know China quite well. But the China that was portrayed tonight, with its rich culture, its colorful kind of acrobatics and dance, I hadn't known that before. Now I know 2 Chinas, the one I experienced on my business trips, and now a traditional, deeper China that we in Europe might know from books when we are talking about tradition and the like.
Besides appreciating the traditional aspects of the show, Mr. Wittchen also found inspiration for his work.
The enthusiasm of the dancers, the passion in their performance, how they expressed their art has inspired me, as I also do my work with enthusiasm and passion. What I liked especially was how 100 people work perfectly together as a team. This is absolutely something that can be learned for professional life.
Mr. Wittchen enjoyed every piece in the show.
Basically, I must say, all acts touched me because of its charm and professionalism in the dances, without being superficial, transmitting that in every single piece. That was the yun, the inner bearing of Shenyun, that impressed me very much.
After Easter, Shenyun continues its European tour in Prague.
And that's all for this broadcast of NTD China News. For more of our China-related topics, visit our website at ntd.tv or subscribe to our YouTube channel, NTDonChina. Coming up next is China Focus, where Shelley Zhang speaks with Jason Ma and Chen Zhifei about all the Apple bashing in China. Stay tuned.